tuned in to www.oghuskyradio.com, broadcasting live from the east side of Los Angeles, worldwide. Special guests every week. Go ahead and introduce yourselves, man. Who we got up in the spot?
This is OG Dream One.
YSE1.
Yo, it's CHVV1.
Let's get it straight into it, man. What's the crew for people that don't know, man? Let them know. Just let's get straight into it.
We are the original TDK out of PICO Union, established in 1980. The PICO Union Originals.
PICO Union Originals. All three of you?
Now I'm the the oldest member from the crew out of this bunch.
How about yourself, man? You PICO Union also, or what?
Nah, I just recently got in not too long ago.
What area are we talking about with you?
South Central.
South Central?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm from the heartlands of New Mexico, so 505.
Oh, hold on. You got to hold the mic. New Mexico?
Yeah.
So how's someone in New Mexico learn about this crew or like the history? Because it's a lot of history in that crew.
Oh yeah, there's definitely a whole bunch of history, but the main history I get from is my bro right here. He's the one who's been keeping me up on the history, learning how to grab, tag, mob, do some slaps. So I'm finding out whatever I know from this guy, but I'm learning a lot.
Yeah. What's different between New Mexico and out here?
It's a whole nother style. Well, it involves a whole bunch of red and green chili. But yeah, it's not too much different, just different styles, different regions. But they're from the West Coast, I'm from the Southwest, so different flavors, different flares, but same style.
So, well, let's get into it. Dream, what got you into graph? We're gonna get a lot of history right now, man. What got you into graph?
Like I was saying, when I lived in Oakland in 1979, I ran into this guy named Toby. He used to write Prism. These are older kids that lived in the little projects where I stayed in Fruitville. They taught me pretty much, I was their lookout. So one day they gave me a can and told me to write something up. And the moment I started writing my middle name, which is Dream. So from that moment, I just got the fever, got the fire, bro. And when I came back home to LA, brought that fire and it never stopped. And eventually I ran into Tron from TDK, and that was 1981. He became my best friend and my crime partner, my RTD bus killer partner.
Yeah. Because the first time that you did it, you never sketched nothing. Your first involvement was on a train.
Yeah, it was. And I told the homie here, this little girl back in elementary school named Emily Cummings, she used to draw these little bubble letters on her peachy folder. So anyways, that's where I got my first, pretty much my first style was learning little bubble letters. So when they gave me the can, that's the first thing that came to my mind. So I just wrote Dream, bubble letters.
Sure about. So then, what year are we talking about?
That was 1979, and then I moved out of Oakland in 1980. I came back to LA, and then ended up moving to East LA, then Almani, and then Pomona.
Well, let's stop in East LA. Okay, so you moved to East LA, and then you're still graphing. How's the scene, or who do you know, or what was your world in graph?
Well, at that time, I was the only one. I went to Saybrook Park Elementary, so I was the only one. I had two little homies that used to go with me, look out for me when I used to hit up my little alley or the playground or the school, Saybrook Park Elementary. Yeah. I didn't do that.
So it was, being real with it, it was just that little neighborhood or whatever area. You never like, city, it wasn't even.
Nah, bro.
Because you're young, though. You're young.
I'm 8 years old, bro. So
8 years old.
I mean, just my alley was my world, and my walk to school was my world. So, you know what I mean? Like I said, we're just little kids, but, we never thought it was going to develop into what it turned into as an adult.
Yeah,
Here I am, almost 50 years old, and I'm still doing it.
Yeah. So then that alley, was there graph artists, or what kind of art were you seeing in those alleys?
No, just B&E, the neighborhood. That's about it.
Because in especially East LA, that has a heavy influence because that's what you see. So I always say the straight letters, like, because it was always the bubble letters, but because of the culture, for lack of a better term, like the straight letters kind of went back into it. You know what I mean?
Well, that's actually, you made a good point, bro. I was doing bubble letters, but I used to see the gang writings.
Yeah.
So that's how I started incorporating that gang writing into my letters, bro. So yeah, you hit them. Yeah, that's exactly.
Trip out. So then you moved to Almani.
Yeah.
Almani, we're talking what, like 1980 or 82?
That was 82, and basically I started recruiting my cousins, but we weren't in a crew. I just started, you know, saying I knew TDK because I had my homie Tron was from TDK, but I was just a hang around at the time. I didn't get, like I said, I didn't get into TDK until 1983, on January of 1983.
Okay, because TDK started in what year?
1980 by design. Edwin, Mexico, my homie Edwin, and he had to leave the country back a while back, and we haven't seen him since.
And this is like 1980 in PICO Union.
This is about when he actually left, when we lost contact, bro. It was probably like 86, 87.
Okay.
That's when TDK in LA pretty much started dying down, and pretty much the main mobbers was me and Tron. And we had the homie Alce and Cesar hitting up North Hollywood. Those guys were getting down. We had Sexer and Lerner. Those fools were getting down. They were hitting the buses big time. They ended up getting to gangs.
Of course, yeah.
So we had Rotten and Seek. They ended up starting a crew called Evil Minded Kings.
Okay.
So basically, when we had no connection because there's no phones. Nobody had cell phones or even a house phone back in those days. So when you moved away, it's like it's over. You know what I mean? So you start a new chapter in your life. I kept moving away, and I just kept starting TDK every single place I went.
Because then after that, you moved to Pomona.
Yeah.
In the middle of 80, like 82, you moved to Pomona.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you were still wearing TDK yet, though?
No. That's when I ran into Tron. Tron and Smurf. Original. There was a Smurf from TDK originally, but he got into Crazy Riders. But that's Tron's brother. And Tron is, my homie Juan Marquez. And we ran into each other in Pomona, and it was like, brothers. So we started riding, and then I went out with them, started mobbing with them. I was hitting up TDK, and eventually he took me to design at the homie Krenz's pad. Like I said, Krenz is another old rider that we used to kick back with back in the day.
What happened that like some of the names came after that? There were OGs before that. Were those names passed on, or they were just used without knowing that there was names before them, or it was just the time or the area, or no internet shit?
Yeah. Or like when Tron, when Tron was the one that was starting to school me about crews, because back then when I started doing it, when I met Toby and all those guys in Oakland, there was no crews. There was no such thing as crews. It was just everybody doing it on their own. When I came to LA, to me, that's the first time I started seeing crews. Okay. And then the crews had rules. And that's when Tron was the one that started schooling me up on the rules and got me all involved. And then, like I say, eventually I became TDK officially.
What does TDK stand for?
When I first got in, it was those damn kids. My era, like the OGs, like Design and Rio and Center, those guys, Breck, all these guys, they're a little bit older than us. So when they got in, it was called, when they first started, it was those deaf kids. Then it became today's deaf kids, and then today's deaf kings, and eventually, like Design was older, so they had the older cats were today's deaf kings. Younger cats like me and Tron, we became those damn kids. So I was a member of those damn kids, one of the first members of when TDK became those damn kids.
And then, why were you moving so much? Damn, dog.
That's another thing. My mom had no father. She had epilepsy. We used to have to move all the time, bro. Like, my life was rough. You know what I mean? Like, I lived in city after city after city, school after school after school, and the only thing that kept me sane was craft. Yeah. Spreading TDK out, every school, Montclair, Pomona, everywhere it went, Ontario, Rancho Cucamonga, all the way down to IE.
So we got to Pomona, but then you hit Fontana.
Yeah, in 1987, I ended up moving to Fontana, and that's where I went crazy, bro. I mean, that's you go to TDK in the IE Inland Empire history. That's where we made the biggest impact. We became the biggest crew out there. We were the first crew, first graffiti writers, first taggers, first everything out there. But that's where the gang started, tag banging came into play. And life changed.
Yeah. So I don't really want to get into too much of that aspect of it, but we are going to get back to the PICO Union Originals. So then, now you're putting together this film. Go ahead and let us know about the film, the documentary.
Well, for a while now, a lot of people have been trying to approach me to, get our story, because I guess, we found out in 1987, right about there's another guy writing TDK, or another crew in TDK in Oakland, and then another guy actually writing my name. So from that point, one time they did come to LA, and when Hex was battling Slick on the first battle, we ran into those guys, and then we hit them up and challenged to a battle. We never heard from them, and so like say your little kids, life goes on. Oakland's a whole nother place, and never heard about it. You know what I mean? Like I said,
one of the things that the reason why we started doing these interviews was because a lot of stories weren't getting told. You know what I mean? And it's inspiring that, like, from what we know as history, like, you know what I mean? Like, one of my first interview was Create. My first ever interview that I ever did was with Create. And Create was telling me, like, nah, man, before me, and I'm looking at Create like, nah, dog, like, you're as far as that I had known, because, you know what I mean? 80s shit, dog. I'm like 4 years old, dog. You know what I mean? Like, it's a trip, though, that you're only like 9 years old at that time, but you were already involved in it. Like, what changed from, like, now people get into it in their 20s, like later, when it was like not that it's a kid thing, but like that era, people got into it earlier at an age. What?
Like I said, graffiti to me didn't take off to around 1985. That's when I started seeing crews pop up left and right, riders all over the place. And then these were all older cats, about 4 or 5 years, and they just barely jumped into it. It became a thing. You know what I mean? And like a wildfire spread. But like a lot of those, honestly, like you said, talk about stories never got told. A lot of those cats knew us, before they even started, and they're coming out with their stories, but not even telling anything about us, like, and the whole thing, like where we're finally coming out of hiding, or whatever you want to say, coming into the public eye, is just because I'm painting in honor of my son, and he passed away. So I don't got time for all these little kid drama and stuff that they do on the internet. And I mean, we're adults, bro. I mean, these guys, everybody's crying about names like it's like, come on, we got to grow up sometime.
Definitely.
But they can't take away somebody's history. I'm another man who has a life, who has a history, and I want to pass that on to my children. I don't want my child to grow up in this, and to hear about, oh, your dad, oh, he's not real, he's a fake, he's a fraud. So I got to set the record straight for his future. Not because I'm trying to say, oh, yeah, I'm the first dream and all that. Who cares? I don't give a crap. There could be 100 dreams. It don't matter, bro. It's just a name. But I just want to be able to honor my son and keep painting without people dissing it. You know what I mean? So the facts are facts. A lot of us OGs, we don't come out on the internet. We don't do Instagram and Facebook, MySpace, all that stuff, because people want to kill us. Cops want to lock us up. Like I said, our history, we got it so bad that we got guys doing life in prison, bro. You know what I mean? So, and people that tell us that we never existed, we're not a TDK that existed. Those guys sitting there doing life, do you think, those guys think that they don't think that
they're
TDK
not real?
was real?
They're not the real ones and shit?
Yeah.
OGSQRadio.com, at OG Dream, the #1, at Dream ONE Productions. The movie's called PICO Union Originals. You did the first part of it on Sunday, right? You got some.
Yeah, we got some footage, some interviews, but we're gonna set up an event. We're just trying to figure out where we're gonna do it. We're gonna get all the OG writers from the crews, all the main heads from LA, so basically tell their story, so that we can finally get a chance to have a voice. Because right now, the story about graffiti's been told by the people who weren't really there from the street perspective. They came afterwards from the hype, from the Hollywood perspective, and they're the ones telling our story. They're the ones saying the history, but not the ones that actually lived it. So it's time for us to all get together and say, hey, no, this is what happened.
Why now, and why hasn't it been told?
Like I said, now because I think graffiti's been accepted, they're no longer trying to lock you up every moment. They got places like Venice Beach where you can paint publicly, which is amazing. I still, we go out there and we're still all shaky, bro. Like, I'm serious. Like,
Yeah.
I'm jumpy. People, hey, Dream, you know, like, because you're so, I've never got a chance in my life to sit there and paint a wall. You know, I mean, I take that back. Besides when I was with Earth Crew 2000, EC 2000, it was an old crew we started back in the day. But we did public murals all around LA. There was Hex, me, Skate from CBS, the homie, rest in peace. There was a bunch of us writers that were on this crew. But that was the first time we ever got to do murals legally. And then I was still younger in that, out of that bunch. They still pushed me, you know. We got the leftovers. So I never really felt like I was, you know, got to be a part of that. But now, it's graffiti is where I dreamt as a kid, where I can do it without nobody trying to kill me, you know, with you know. So now, you know, it's not too late. We can paint. You know, there's no reason why we should stop our expression. I'm gonna paint till the day I die. Just like I told my homies all my life, I never stop. Just because I haven't been in LA, I've been everywhere else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you've been putting it down. Yeah. OG Husky Radio. Stay posted. More interviews to come.